Hi, welcome to another session of Learning with ISRAR at ISRAR'S channel. And today we are going to talk about value chain. And since it's a kind of longer topic, so we have divided this topic into two parts. In the first part, we will discuss value chain analysis, and in the second part, we will discuss the value chain analytics. So now let's first discuss about value chain, in which we will talk about value chain, value chain versus supply chain, components of value chain, primary activities in a value chain, and then secondary or supported activities in value chain, and finally steps in value chain analysis. So now let's first define what is a value chain. A value chain is the series of business activities a company performs to create a product or service from start to finish. The idea of value chain was first introduced by Michael Porter in his book in 1985. So in this model, we identify each activity where value is added, such as sourcing, manufacturing, sales, and then examine how these activities interact among themselves. And by identifying these activities, a company can analyze and optimize them in terms of cost and quality to improve its competitive advantage. Since value chain concept is very much related to supply chain concept, so now let's define and differentiate how value chain is different from supply chain. So a supply chain is a network of individuals and companies involved in creation, production and distribution of a product of a or service. So the chain may involve suppliers, manufacturer, warehouses, transportation companies, and retailer. Whereas a value chain looks at series of activities within the supply chain to find way to enhance the product's value for the customers. After differentiating between value chain and supply chain, now let's talk about the components of a value chain. A value chain framework consists of five primary activities and four supporting activities a company's products goes through. Each activity seek to increase profit margin by adding value for customers. Primary activities add value by helping build and sell a company's product or services, whereas secondary or supporting activities support primary activities which are directly involved in creating and distributing goods and services. So now let's first identify and describe the five primary activities. So these five primary activities are inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and then finally services. Now let's discuss these primary activities one by one. The first one is the inbound logistics. So in this we acquire the materials and supplies that a business needs from external sources like warehouses or assembly plants. The next primary activity is operations, in which we take the materials from inbound logistics and transfer them into finished products. It may include prototyping, production, testing, and quality control. Then it is outbound logistics, in which we move the finished product from a company to its customer, including packaging, shipping, and installations. Marketing and sales is also part of primary activities, in which we ensure potential customers are aware of our products and its benefits through advertising and promotional campaigns, managing distribution channels, and pricing. Finally, it is the services customer service and product support that happens after a purchase, such as handling customers' issue or advising on products, repair or usage. After discussing the primary activities, now let's talk about the secondary or supporting activity in a value chain. So these are procurement, technology development, human resource management, and then firms infrastructures. Now let's discuss these one by one. So first one is the procurement, in which we find and maintain vendors to obtain items such as raw materials, consumables, machinery, equipment, or office supplies. The next one is the technology development. This is the technology we need to support our primary activities, in which we manage the information technology and technology resources such as software, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. Then another very important supporting activity is the human resource management, in which we ensure that organization has the staff to perform value chain activities through recruitment, hiring, training, and compensation. Finally, it is the firm's infrastructure, without we cannot perform any activity. So it is a framework for an organization's operations, including general management, accounting, finance, legal, and government affairs. After understanding the concept of value chain in a business and seeing or understanding of its different activities, and now let's start with the value chain analysis and what kind of steps we take to analyze a value chain in a business. These are the steps in value chain analysis. First of all, identify the primary and supportive activities in a value chain. Then map out each activity and associated cost with it. Then analyze the linkages and value creation potential. Then identify competitive advantage areas in this business, and then evaluate performances and benchmarking each activity, and finally implementing improvements and track the results. So now let's start with the first steps, which is identifying the primary and supporting activities in a value chain. Michael Porter, the initiator of this model, identified five primary companies activities, which we have already discussed, which is one is the inbound logistic, receiving, warehousing, and managing input material. Then operations, transforming inputs into final products or service. Then outbound logistics is storing and distributing finished goods. And then marketing and sales, promoting and selling products to the end customers. And finally, services, post sale or after sale services such as customer support and repairs. In value chain analysis, we also identify the secondary or supporting activities like firm's infrastructure, company-wide activities such as finance, legal, and management, then human resource management, recruiting, training, and retaining employees, technology development, it is product innovation, R&D, and improving operation. And then the major activity like procurement, acquiring resources and material necessary for the production. Please keep in mind that these activities and each activity's classification may be adjusted by the company as necessary. For example, inbound and outbound logistics may not be relevant for purely online businesses. The next step is the mapping out each activity and associated costs with it. So for each activity, map out the processes, resources, and cost involved, and determine the relationship and interdependency between these activities. By mapping out these details, we can gain insight into which activity add the most value and which could be optimized. The next step is the analyzing the linkages and the value creation potential of each activities. So linkages are connection between each activities. For example, improvement in technology can reduce cost in operation. So identify how changes in one activity can influence others, looking for areas where efficiencies or added value can be achieved. Another very important objective of value chain is having a competitive advantage. So it is very important to identify competitive advantage areas in a value chain. So determine where the company holds an advantage over the competitor, like advantage. Look for the ways to reduce costs in each activity while maintaining quality, or differentiation advantage. Focus on the unique process or capabilities that enhance the customer experience or product quality. So, setting the standards or performance and benchmarking is also a step of value chain analysis. So, assessing the performance of each activity in value chain, ideally comparing it with the industry benchmarks. This evaluation highlights areas where the company is performing above and below average and guiding where to allocate resources. The final step is to implement improvements and track results. So, based on the our value chain analysis, we can make strategic adjustments to improve efficiency or add value. This might involve investing in new technology, renegotiating suppliers' contract, or adjusting logistics. So also tracking the result is very important. So measure the impact of these changes and make continuous adjustments to maintain a competitive edge of the business. As we have seen, conducting a thorough value chain analysis can significantly improve operational efficiency, product differentiation, and profitability, ultimately creating more value for customers. So, this was the first part of our value chain analysis, and in the second part of this presentation, we will make the value chain analytics. So, till that, have a nice time. Take care.